Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to Classy Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Kung Fury. It was made in 2015 and it's about 31 minutes long. But I need to explain a little bit about this movie. It's a short film that basically encapsulates everything that is the 80s. Everything from video VHS trackings to kung fu to video games, and it's a funny comedy movie. So the movie starts in 1985 in Miami, where a police pulls over three youngsters with guns and asks them basically, where do you get those guns? Where do you got them? And they use their skateboard to flip the car, and he blows it up with their Uzis. And then cutting to a brutal neighborhood and into an arcade scene where two guys are playing an arcade machine, and they get pissed off and kick it, and it turns into a mech, just like that, and then they start to terrorize the city. And then cutting to the main character in this Japanese penthouse, and him getting a call and basically taking care of the robot. So he fights the robot, and it's like with this VHS filter, and they're fighting in the street. And even later they're fighting, like there's some big explosion, and then they fight on like a shopper, and later on a spaceship. And then he explains like how he got his powers, and it's really stupid, but it's a comedy movie, so it's fine. He got bitten by a cobra at the same time as he got struck by lightning, and he basically became Kung Fury. So his name is Kung Fury. I mean, it's everything 80s. It's really funny and weird. So later cutting to Fury at the police precinct, and he gets yelled at by the police chief for him like basically destroying a city block, and he gets a new partner because his old partner died, and his new partner is actually a guy with a triceratops head. I think he's called Triceratops. And then cutting to someone arriving, and we don't really know who it is right at this point, but it turns out that it's Hitler. Yeah, we're going there. So Hitler takes like a phone, and he calls up the police department on it, and he starts to fire into the phone, and most of the police die on the other side. And it's a comedy, and it's stupid, so it works. So Kung Fury basically gets in contact with a person called the Hacker Man, and he is the best hacker in the world, and he uses Atari 600 to get him back into the Viking Age. Something goes wrong. He goes terribly way back, and then there are laser raptors, and he gets saved by two Viking warriors with machine guns and minigun. And he hitches a ride with them on a T-Rex, and they call on Thor because Thor can actually take him to the right timeline. And this is a crazy movie. And then cutting to two Nazi soldiers during the Second World War, and they're arguing about each other's mustaches. Which one looks more like Hitler's, I guess. And it's kind of a funny scene because these actors are actually Swedish comedians. And they talk German to each other, and all of a sudden they start to speak Swedish to one another. I thought, like, what is going on? And then they get crushed by a Kung Fury with a tank. So yeah. So Hitler is basically in a big hangar having a speech to his troops about how good he is at Kung Fu and everything, and then Kung Fury enters the room and he starts to beat up the Nazis, and he gets shot by Hitler. And he falls into a dream sequence, like an 80s cartoon, where there's like a cobra on a hovercraft, and then he wakes up, and then his friends from earlier arrive, like Thor and the Viking ladies and the laser raptors and the T-Rex, and Hacker Man is there, and his new old partner Triceratops. And there's a fighting scene, and Kung Fury punches Hitler in the balls, and Thor crushes him with a hammer. And then cutting back to present day, where Kung Fury is driving his car, and it's kind of a funny scene because it's basically Knight Rider. So the AI in the car is called Hoff 9000, which is a pun on David Hasselhoff, and he basically, Kung Fury jumps out of the car and he fights the arcade robot from the beginning of the movie, and he thinks all is fine and dandy, but then Hitler time travels back because he wasn't really crushed by Thor's hammer. He was actually teleported to present time. and that's the end of that movie. So what do I think about Kung Fury? It's kind of funny because one of my coworkers said like it's one of the worst movies that he's ever seen, and I was like, it can't be that bad. But he actually recommended seeing it. So there's this studio called Laser Unicorn, and I don't think you can get more 80s than Laser Unicorns. And they made a short movie, and I think it's actually Swedish. And it's if this movie was made in the 80s, it would have been the most awesome movie ever. But it was made in 2015, and it's not that awesome. But it's like the other movie. What was it, like Kung Pao? It's a comedy that's kind of funny. It's so bad that it's funny. I don't think you can watch it like more than once, but it's definitely a thing I want to recommend because it's so weird and so bizarre that you have to see it to actually believe that this movie exists. And I think it made like a musical, like a music video spin-off which actually has David Hasselhoff in it. It's really weird, and it's on YouTube, so you can basically just search for Kung Fury and it will pop up. So yeah, I can recommend it just for shits and giggles. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.